Looks like we're live. I'm gonna start it a little different today. I'm gonna play some guitar. I'm gonna start off by playing a silly game. I'm not gonna play the guitar the whole stream. We have a lot of funny stuff to talk about. Just random stuff. I was gonna do an episode this week where I talked about starting a story, but I think I'm gonna hold that off for next week. Maybe we'll see. Maybe I'll talk about it today. I don't know if it's like hour and a half type material, so I guess we'll see. But I'm just going to start off by playing a silly game. This is a song that I wrote the lyrics to with Olive Tree Bear. I really love this song. So just going to kind of jam. I'm not the greatest at guitar that there ever was, just FYI. But forgive me if I'm not perfect, but I'll try to be perfect.
I saw you when our paths crossed.
Hey, Olive Tree, what's up? What timing?
Do you want the same things? Do you feel the pull of the way? Tending toward collision now. Could I just give you a call? If there's sparks, if there's a flame, I will let it burn so slow. When I laugh, you laugh, smile, you smile. Can it be such a simple fate? What a silly game we play when we complicate. Because one conversation can turn into a whole life. All the things that we don't say when we complicate. Mixed signs, are we alive? Do you think about these things too? I try to play it cool. Do you see a king or do you see a fool? Shutting out the questions now, 'cause the stress is just a stall. Kill the tides and let it flow. Let them fall where they might fall. When I laugh, you laugh, smile, you smile. Can it be such a simple fate? What a silly game we play when we complicate. Because one conversation can turn into a whole life. All the things that we don't say when we complicate. When I laugh, you laugh, smile, you smile. Can it be such a simple fate? What a silly game we play when we complicate. Because one conversation can turn into a whole life. One things that we don't say when we complicate. ourselves tonight. Throw the guessing games away and leave it all to fate. Because one conversation can turn into a whole life. All the things that we don't say when we complicate.
Olive Tree is in the house. That's what's up. What timing? I decided to play some guitar on stream for the first time. Just felt like jamming out. Thought it would be appropriate. And frickin' Olive Tree joins in. What a pleasant surprise. Hopefully I didn't embarrass you, Olive Tree, with my awful guitar playing. Anyway, happy Friday. Got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Just random stuff, not like anything interesting. Just, funny stuff. This week, I had a really good time helping out. I just helped out Woodshop Bear with his book. And once this thing is done, if you're a bear especially, but everybody in general should read this book because there's so much going on. It's just such an awesome fantasy story. The guy's mind, because I talked to him kind of too about what he was expecting for the next iteration, right? The next book in the series. And the guy's got so many good ideas and big ideas for where to go with it. So you should definitely, once he publishes it, which will be soon, I hope. But I know he's trying to traditional publish it, so it might not be soon, honestly. Traditional publishing is great. There's a lot of perks to it, but it takes a little bit of time. So, especially on the publisher's end, because I guess there's a lot of stuff they have to do with distribution and everything. But you should definitely follow Nicholas Boydston Books. That's I don't know if that's the exact handle, but that's Woodshop's book handle. And like I said, I read through it. It's super good. I recommend it, and I gave him a bunch of feedback on it, which was really cool too. Like one of my favorite things about being more online and being in like a community like the Bears, which is all thanks to Olive Tree Bear. I don't know if you're still watching Olive Tree, but I mean, I wouldn't be half the man I am today if it wasn't for you. Okay. Belizima's in the house. Damn. 2 viewers. This is like the steady incremental increase is the best feeling ever. Like, can't stay long. I'm saying hi. Hey, thanks for joining in at all. And I'm looking forward to our episode on Over Sharon coming out. That was like such a fun conversation. And I think the people watching it might think so too, because we just kind of talked about a whole bunch of different things. Some gravy, some just catching up. But hopefully we get to do that again sometime. But yeah, like I was saying, look out for Olive Tree's book, or not Olive Tree, Woodshop Bear's book, because it's gonna be super good. I've read it from beginning to end, and like I said, made some tips on it. Okay, let's see. Let's just share some funny stuff. I'm not gonna be too long today because I don't have like all this planned out. I had kind of a long week, honestly. Like it was a not the best week I've ever had, but I gotta do what I gotta do. I gotta do this anyway. Gotta bring some joy to some people. So just some funny stuff. I just want to save this one for last. No, I'll do this one first. So my friend sent me this. Is this like, I guess some girl that's like running for office or something. But this girl like actually is like, this is like a really long apology. But she legit said that, like, so there was a chart that she showed where it was like men are having less sex by like 10% or something, according to their responses. And it's just funny I guess I figured I'd start with this one since I was playing the silly game, because like her recommendation is like prostitution, like that we need to legalize prostitution. And so like obviously she tweets this, and because she's on Twitter, she has to apologize about the fact that she said that. And I swear that she said this. I don't know if it's in here. I can't read this tiny text, but basically she said that men deserve a right to sex. Like, this is what happens, I feel like, when you like lie a lot. And it's just funny because, like, I look at the thing where men are having less sex and I'm like, it's probably a good thing, right? You know, I mean, overall, I think there's probably part of it is bad because men are watching probably too much porn. And maybe that's partly why they're not having as much sex. But also, like, she talks about the Me Too movement thing. And, you know, if the point of the Me Too movement was that there was too much, like, sexual assault at parties, then having less sex seems like a good solution for men, right? Maybe just find a woman you want to marry and then you won't have this problem. But I just think it's funny because, like, and I've decided that when it comes to, like, looking at the things people like this say, like, I'm not really doing it to be like, look there, but it's hilarious, right? I mean, like, I just like bringing it up, like, because it's funny. Like, this chick lives in this world where she has to like apologize for everything she says. And I'm going to get to this later with Kanye, but, like, if you don't, the Bears are so lucky, like, we're so lucky because, like, we just get to chat with each other and make jokes, and people understand that it's a joke. And I talked with, not even just a joke always, but it's sometimes maybe you're just spitballing, right? Like, sometimes maybe you might be saying, what if, right? Well, allegedly, or could it be that this is true? And these people can't even do that. They just say things because they assume everything is science and everything is like a fact or not a fact. And if they're wrong, they just have to apologize all the time because they don't ever really, like, critique themselves, I guess. They're just not really honest with each other. And so it's just really funny to kind of, like, observe this world where, and the funny thing is like, in this world too, I'll get to this in a, like, kind of towards the end, but, like, they have this left-right paradigm. Like, this chick is the left and then there's the right, but they both apologize to each other all the time about everything. And their only goal is to, like, is to be who can be the sorriest. And meanwhile, we're out here, and Kanye now, I guess, is out here, where it's just like, you know, it's not just the only goal in life is to be right about everything and apologize for when you're wrong. But that's kind of how these people are, and it's just funny because, like, she's running for office, and, you know, you would perceive this kind of person as having power, but she has to put what her pronouns are in her bio and apologize for saying an idea. She can't just be like, it was a dumb idea on my part. She has to actually say, like, I'm sorry, as if it matters. It is a dumb idea, obviously, right? You don't have a right to sex. Are you crazy? How can this is how crazy it does get for them too, because, like, she's a feminist at the same time that she's saying men have a right to sex. And, like, this is where it leads. If you don't just say, like, marriage is the best way to do it, then it just leads to this. And this is ridiculous, but I don't know, it's funny. But I was going to say also, I think the thing that, like, helps the Bears escape this, that we've kind of learned over the course of years, is, like, the one quality is, like, that we laugh at ourselves. Like, if we're wrong about something, we could just laugh at ourselves about it. And, you know, if like a comedian goes all in on us on a topic that is about us, we don't really get offended by it, because the people who do got weeded out of this group a long time ago. And so thank God we have a group like that, because these people clearly don't. Anyway, that's, like, the first. That was pretty funny to me. Then there's some COVID stuff. I talk about COVID stuff every now and then because I have a book about it. And this is just fun. Again, like, some partly funny and partly not, but, like, there's basically, like, Boston. This is the new scare story of the day, and the scary thing that they try to do is, like, oh, more lethal strain of COVID created in Boston University lab. I just, like, think about this for a second, okay? 2 years ago, they did everything that they could to say that there was nothing created in a lab. And now you're going to tell me that while people are skeptical of this, someone created something in a lab like not covertly or anything. No. This is such nonsense. Like, what's happening is that the CDC just, approved the shot for kids. And so, and we're in like the fall, so now they're going to do their whole booster campaign thing, and they just need truthers to also be scared, right? They need they literally study this. Like, there was a thing at a Yale University where they actually study fear, like different messaging, right? So some of it will be positive, and then some of it will be negative. And then on the negative side, there's messages that are legit, like, can we scare people to take it? Like, they actually unironically do that. These are like, that's how narcissistic these people are. But this is that, like, because I've entertained the lab leak theory, and there's some evidence that they try to do stuff like this. But when you have the thing, my biggest question around it, that just makes me like 90% sure that there's 99 maybe percent sure that it's just nonsense, is like, if they created something in a lab that's got the same incidence or less as the flu, then like, what did they create? Because the flu would have been there anyway, right? So how can you possibly prove that you made something that has the same symptoms as the flu, and then also that has the same incidence as the flu? Like, how do you even know that you really made anything? And so there's just a lot of questions like that just don't make sense. And you could also talk about when they first started out, they were they were basing it off of like in silico, which means theoretical sequences and stuff. Just a bunch of gravelly nonsense. But this is just really funny. The other funny thing about this is that, like, this is the headline in the New York Post, right? To scare people. Because the New York Post is the less, crazy version, I guess, of the New York Times. And so the people who are less crazy read this one, and they still need to scare those people, so they come out with it in the New York Post. And then the fact checkers, because, there always has to be fact checkers. And this is the funny, like, this is what, when you actually read a fact check, this is legit what you find every single time, right? So the fact checkers say, Boston University lab did not create deadly new COVID strain, experts say. More lethal strain of COVID created in Boston University lab, researchers say. Okay, so experts say both things, first of all. And then second of all, in the fact check version, this is really like, this is actually what they're saying. If we're going to find shots, or you're going to be able to find some kind of test, then that's the kind of work you do, right? So they're saying that they experiment by bringing the researchers compared the original strain to Omicron, and a version of the two combined. Okay. So where did did they create the combined? Are they saying they created? Either way, it's nonsense. They didn't create anything, right? But they said that a combined version had an 80% increase over the Omicron version, which is literally the headline. I mean, what's the difference between that and the headline? So, I mean, really the only question is whether they're alleging they created it, which they didn't, because I don't think they can. I mean, even if they can, like I said, what are they actually creating? So, anyway, gravelly nonsense, but kind of funny. Next, also the last thing on that topic, is the CDC just added it to the child schedule. And the only reason I bring this up, this is a more serious one a little bit, because this was like always their goal, right? Was to get the shot on the childhood schedule so that they could get liability protection. Because part of Reagan's Vaccine Act, when Reagan was in office, was to say that if a shot is available to all ages, then it would be protected from liability. And so this is what they've been going for the whole time, right? This is not having this is why Pfizer still today only lets people get the EUA version, because under an EUA, they can get liability protection. Well, now that it's on the childhood schedule, they can sell the approved version, theoretically, with liability coverage. Again, this has been the goal the whole time. And so the reason why the mandates were illegal for the past year, and they were, so anybody that was pressured to getting a shot at a job in the past year had a case to sue, and they legally should have won, because you can't mandate an EUA approved shot, and that's the only kind of shot that was available. Now that this is the case, they could move to try to make the shot mandatable if they start selling the approved version, which is called Comirnaty. So a thing to keep in mind going forward. I'm not saying they're gonna start pressuring people. Again, I don't know that for a fact, but it's like worth getting a heads up about, and just being ready to have to message your senators and representatives like every day. That's what I was doing during COVID, and I'm convinced it worked to some extent, because the pressure has clearly come down. But if this happens, if they start trying this kind of stuff again, it's just you have to be ready for it, and it's very possible. Now, I'm not as worried. Like, people are really focused on the children aspect. My kids are not getting this shot ever, or probably any shot ever. I'm like, yeah, no shots ever. And so I'm not as concerned, because I understand how the laws work. Like, you can get exceptions and stuff, and if they require it at a school, you don't want your kid going to that school anyway. But the other aspect is kind of concerning, like the aspect of it being approved for everyone. And even that is, there are ways around this stuff. I think that's the thing that the last year has helped us with. It's not worth being afraid about. And if you stand your ground, God provides in the end, kind of is like a shield from this kind of stuff. I'm 100% certain of that, because I had pressure at work in some capacity when it came to this a couple months ago, and I didn't bow to it, and it helped. It worked for me in the end, and I wouldn't have bowed to it. And so, yeah, just something to keep in mind, because like I said, this was their goal the whole time, was to normalize this type of technology. And I don't know if they're going to try to move forward with the mandatory part of it still, because it's been a complete failure, and the lack of transmission thing that they just admitted at that hearing, everybody knows about that now. So they'll probably try to pressure kids because they're evil bastards. But just something to keep in mind. I mean, this is why I think that it's super important to read books like mine or Robert F. Kennedy's, because it's not... There's always a way out of it, right? They're never going to come to your door and stick it in your arm, and you can always quit your job, and it's worth it to quit your job to not be poisoned. And that's what this is poison. And so there's always a way out, but it's just really useful to understand the background on it, and that's what I did my best to provide in my book, and I know Robert F. Kennedy did as well. So we're at... How long are we here? 20 minutes. Cool. Let's get to some funny stuff. So obviously, the big story in the past week or so has been Kanye West. And Kanye West seems to me to have started a bit of a tiff with the small-hatted community. In particular, Ben Shapiro and Ethan Klein. Now, this is kind of what I was talking about before with, this is like a world that I don't even operate in anymore. Like, this to me is like a tussle between two dweebs that are just, on the same side, kind of. Like, they're both beat up. They're both like the dork on the playground, but they tell each other that they're like something called left and right. Now, just keep in mind that Ben Shapiro is the one that they're saying is right, and Ethan Klein is the one that they're saying is left. And Ben Shapiro like the people he surrounds himself with include the likes of this guy, Andy No, who's got a rainbow flag in his profile. He still operates on Twitter, which is not, you can't be right wing and operate on Twitter, right? You can't be masculine or any of that and exist on Twitter. So he's still there, and he's got a check mark there still. So they like him, right? He's not part of the true divide, which is like, you know, a traditional mentality versus this hellhole. But he thinks he is, and so does this guy, thinks that he's on the other side of it. Now, H3H3, Ethan Klein of H3H3 is he got really famous for sharing like memes, basically like videos of people who were doing crazy stuff, like really weird people. And he would, you know, make funny faces when they were doing weird stuff, basically. This is why he's famous. I've seen a couple of his videos in the past. He used to be pretty funny, because I feel like when YouTube first started out, there was more of that. There was more of that. YouTube, the old YouTube was the best platform, period, where so many random people were just posting to it, and everything was so raw. The videos were usually like not well done, and everything was so funny. Like people would just post videos of themselves jumping off things and acting funny. It was almost like comedian. They were comedic. There was a lot more actual comedy on YouTube, and people like this who are like pretty cynical, like H3H3. This guy's whole personality is he's just extremely cynical, and it's turned him into this horrible person. The more he's gotten, I think people like this, gamma males like that, the more fame they get, it's not that absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's that absolute power accentuates. And this guy's worst tendencies have just really come out, and he's gone after his own fans, people who like stood by him for a long time. Not me. I'm not really. I used to think he was funny, like I said, but I'm not one of them. But he's had a bunch of pretty dramatic not scandals, but he was in the new, like the, you know, YouTuber news, I guess you could say, for just being a douche. And he's pretty regularly, and you know, he's got this pretty bad reputation at this point. But he used to be pretty funny, and he used to just be mostly comedic, and now he's saying stuff that makes Ben Shapiro really sad. Really want to go to his mommy. Let's see what he said.
I was just going to say, if there's another Holocaust and people start rounding up the Jews, I just say, if they start rounding up the Jews again, I hope Ben gets gassed first.
So that's honestly not. That's pretty funny, but like it really reminded me of the joke that Owen Benjamin said about that guy King. I don't remember his name. The guy who pretends to be black. Because Owen was like, I wish that guy, or I wish they could bring slavery back just so that guy would have to say that he was white, so he would stop pretending like he was black. And Sean King, was that who it is? I don't know. But this reminds me a lot of that joke, and that's what it is a joke, right? To a sane person, that's just a joke. Ethan Klein has said way worse things than that, like. Things that actually are not, like, he's not serious there. That's a bit, right? Maybe to some extent, maybe he is, but even if he is, you know, that is to some extent humor. And I think on his own page, he says that was a joke. But the way that the ironic thing is that in the past 10 years, really starting with in the Obama years, is when this cancel culture thing really started taking place, right? Where you started to be just, people just went after you for saying anything controversial. And people got kicked off of things and this and that. And it was mostly people who were right wing. And the people who were right wing, more traditional, more like pro-American in general, pro like Constitution and freedom, those people, for the most part, were the ones that were kicked off ubiquitously. And people like Ethan Klein agree with that, right? People like Ethan Klein did nothing to stop that. He says now that he is against this kind of thing, but he's not, right? He's not. Because you can go to his page, and the first thing on his page, let's do that really quick. The first thing on this guy's page is going after Shapiro, which is fine. He can go after Shapiro. The first thing on his page is that Shapiro, and I don't know, something about Shapiro giving a platform to right wing, white supremacists and stuff, which is nonsense. And this is the tactic, right, that they use to kick people off things. And so this guy uses these tactics to kick people off things, and then pretends like he doesn't do those, right? Because he would not be okay with the people he calls hateful being on Twitter. And he's proved that in the past. He's said things like that in the past. I'm pretty sure, allegedly. And so, but they have this back and forth where they both pretend to be the free speech person. They both pretend that they're the most freer speech person while they're going after each other and getting each other canceled. And it's just like, who's going to tell me that Ben Shapiro's right wing and he's left wing? They're the same person, dude. They're the same person, except H3H3 is funnier a little bit. Not a lot. I mean, the guy is too bitter to be funny consistently. And he is just a very, very... he's not an intelligent person at all, which is fine, He used to be he used to do these bits, and I used to find a lot of really funny videos from his channel where like he would bring up some channels that were posting funny content. But I mean, the fact that he thinks he's different from Ben Shapiro is crazy to me. It's crazy. They're like best friends. They're like, to me, they're like best friends that give each other crap about things. There are friends that I have that, like, most of our back and forth is talking crap to each other. But it's in a funny way. And we enjoy it. And that's what these two are to me. Because this whole left he's left wing and Ben is right wing is nonsense. They're both on Twitter. I'm not on Ben Shapiro's side. Right? I don't agree with people who have blue check marks. I think people who have blue check marks are suspicious to me. And if Ethan Klein is saying that he's for this, he thinks he should be able to say a joke, which is what this is, and Ben Shapiro is crying about it to his mommy, then I'm more on Ethan Klein's side, even though I think the guy is insufferable. But they're both insufferable. Like, again, they're the kind of people who maybe end up being friends later in life because they were both bullied and no one wants to be around either of them, so they become friends. And really the only thing that they have is each other to just bitch at. I mean, again, the people that Ben Shapiro surrounds himself with, let's just take stock. Andy No, rainbow flag in his profile. I'm shocked that there's no pronouns in his bio, but there's a rainbow flag in his profile. Dave Rubin, who is gay, married, and adopted kids. Jordan Peterson, who I've got a clip on right here that I'll play in a second, who is crazy. None of these people are traditional at all. None of them are fun to be around at all. None of them are funny. None of them are willing to say hard truths. Where were they during COVID, right? Jordan Peterson was doing shows where people needed to get their shot to go to the show. A shot that doesn't stop transmission, that doesn't prevent any bad outcome, doesn't do anything except have side effects. He was on board with that. If these guys didn't fight against that, they're not right. They're not on the right. And who cares about being on the right, right? There are positive characteristics of being liberal too, right? Like they're more. You could say that they're kind of more charitable, not like themselves in their own life, but they want to force other people. So they believe in charity a bit more. It seems like, there's some care there. It's like saying that there's good feminine and masculine characteristics. But these people are like the worst of both worlds, right? Because when things get hard, you can't rely on them for anything. Because they don't have the masculine, and they really only have the feminine, but they're like the crazy feminine. They're not the good version of feminine. They don't have good qualities of either. And it's crazy how much more obvious that's become to me. Like when Jordan Peterson first came out, I wouldn't say that, people have some people really took to him, and I thought it was entertaining, I guess, that he was saying that he wouldn't say someone's pronouns or something, but I was never in the situation where anyone tried to make me do that, so I couldn't really relate to it, and I don't think it makes you a hero. But as he's continued to like talk, you end up with things like this. And this is incredible. This happened the other day. It's been kind of going around, but it's just incredible.
Well, the question, did that happen, begs the question, what do you mean by happen? Because
what? What do you mean by happen? Jim Bob's impression is better than mine, but it's let's keep going.
when you are dealing with fundamental realities and you pose a question, you have to understand that the reality of the concepts of your question, when you're digging.
All right, let's try to make sense of this. Let's hold on.
Because when you are dealing with fundamental realities and you pose
When you're dealing with fundamental realities,
a question,
which when you're dealing with fundamental, so like, why would you not be dealing with fundamental? Like, what else would you be dealing with? What does he mean? Anyway. What can he possibly mean by that? Why would you even say that? First of all, that first, when you're dealing with fundamental realities, if you ask a question, are you not dealing with fundamental reality? If I ask you about a fiction book, maybe that's a situation, something that happens in a fiction. Maybe that's a situation where you wouldn't be dealing with fundamental realities. But if I ask you a question, it's just that's like a filler sentence. So let's keep going.
you have to understand that the reality of the concepts of your question.
The reality of the concepts of your question.
When you're digging that deep, are just as questionable as what you're questioning.
So that to me sounds like the reality of the concepts of your question are just as questionable as So that makes no sense. Because the reality of the concept. All right, here's how it doesn't make any sense. The reality of the concepts of your question are just as questionable as what you're questioning. He literally just said that your question is questionable. Like, you're asking a question about concepts, and he's saying those concepts are questionable, which is the whole point of asking a question. And so I think the thing that he's answering, trying to make sense of a crazy person is probably not something that I would would try to do all the time. It's just funny. Like, but the question that he gets asked is pretty frequently, it seems like, is, do you believe in God? And what he's trying to say to get out of answering that, because he likes to toe this line of I don't want to abandon the religious people, but I don't want to abandon the non-religious people either. I just want to be as rich as possible and wear as many suits as possible so that I can buy as much syrup as possible. And so he toes this line, and he basically says, like, you can't ask me if I believe in God, because the idea of God itself is a question. Yeah, idiot. That's why you believe. Do you believe or not? You can't understand everything about God. Obviously, no one who believes in God pretends that they can understand everything about God. So the question is, do you believe or not? It gets crazier, but funnier.
So people say to me, do you believe in God? And I think, okay, there's a couple of mysteries in that question. What do you mean, do?
What do you mean, do? Do? Just do. That's it. That's like, I don't know how to define do, but do, Jordan?
What do you mean you? What do you mean believe? And what do you mean God? And you?
Okay, believe you could ask for a definition of, maybe. No, you can't. No, you can't. I'm not giving this idiot any ground. Like, do you believe in God, Jordan? Just answer the question. Yes or no? God. And you could say, people might have a different definition of God. Okay. Well, then which one do you believe in? Do you believe in any? Do you believe in God, to me, would tend to mean, like, if you're saying God, you're implying there's only one God. And you could debate maybe his form or something, whatever. People have different ideas about this or that, about God. But, like, yes or no? Do you believe there's one or no? But what do you mean by do, bucko? How do you have conversations with someone who needs a definition of do? And why does anyone pretend like this guy's smart? If he can, how many books has he sold? Why can't I buy suits like that? My books actually have content in them. I don't spend a whole book trying to figure out the definition of do. Bucko.
You say as the questioner, well, we already know what all those things mean, except belief in God. And I think, no, if we're going to get down to the fundamental brass tacks.
No, bucko, we don't know what do means, and you. We don't know what you mean by you. I don't even know who I am.
We don't really know what any of those things mean.
And he gets, like, angry, too. Like, we don't really know what any of those things mean. Fuck! I don't mean to take Jim Bob's impersonation, but it's inspired. Consider it flattery, okay? It's a fantastic. I watch enough of Jim Bob where it's like instinctual to kind of do it similarly, but it's we don't know what do you mean. I mean, yes. I mean, in a way, Jordan Peterson does not know who he is because he takes a lot of drugs, and so when you say do you. He says, but who? But who? We can't possibly know who you're talking about. He feels like if he gets angry enough, then it can seem like he's passionate about the thing he's talking about, which makes it seem like he understands the words that are coming out of his mouth. But he doesn't. Because if you did, you'd be able to explain it simpler. I used to say, I talk the same thing about the people who talk about COVID and the fact checkers and the people who defer to science for everything, right? They say things that make no sense. And then people say, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then they say, trust the science, or it's a fact, or this or that. And you're just like, but you need to explain it better. They say, like, you're not a scientist, so you can't understand it. No. That's not how it works, Jordan. You call yourself a philosopher. So your job, especially as a teacher, is to explain philosophical concepts in ways that make sense. Your job is not to teach kids what we don't even know what do means. Or you. And this is like why today, I don't see a difference between Ben Shapiro and Ethan Klein. I don't see a difference between Jordan Peterson and the fact checkers. None of them tell the truth. Like, I just want someone to tell the truth. Just want to be, I have people around me that tell the truth, but it's just this world of people who operate in the fake binary and in this crazy town where it's like fun, who are fun to laugh about. Like, it's the thing that brings them all together, because whether you were Democrat or Republican, no one in Washington was questioning whether there even was a COVID. No one in Washington was saying, was talking about the nefariousness of the pre-planning behind mRNA shots. They're still not talking about it. Jordan Peterson still doesn't talk about it. Even though, they're on a platform now where they claim that they, escaped being the possibility of being canceled. Ben Shapiro's still freaking validated, or whatever the stupid check mark means. He's still a special boy on Twitter, okay? They are not at a threat of being canceled anywhere. In fact, they're promoted still. Because the idea of confusing people is really appealing to them. And so Jordan Peterson is as much a philosopher as Neil deGrasse Tyson is a scientist, or Bill Nye. And by that I mean they're not. But one guy who is seeming to kind of be willing to say things. But again, even this, right? So this is like the last thing I'm going to share, and I'll probably wrap. But like, even this, I don't understand why. Like, I mean, I get why Kanye's trying to get some kind of message out there. But even this, these people let him on their show with an agenda. And we'll talk about that agenda right here.
You don't hold accountability to my pain. You're being a Karen.
I'm talking about. I'm not a Karen.
To the pain.
Hilarious. Not only did he say you're being a Karen, but he got Piers Morgan to say I'm not a Karen.
I'm not a
I'm not a Karen, Kanye.
Karen, and I'm not going to cancel you, and I'm not going to uncensor you. I'm simply going to challenge you on what you're saying. I think you don't understand the pain that you've been causing with some of these comments.
All right, this is like, again, same type of person as Ben Shapiro and Ethan Klein. This is the world that it's just fascinating, man. This is their goal all the time. I don't think you understand the pain that your words are causing. Maybe it's because he's British and he just doesn't understand the concept of no one gives a shit, Piers. Their words. Have none of these people learned? Do they not teach people in England about sticks and stones breaking your bones? I'm done with this Kanye interview, by the way. I don't want to talk about Kanye. But like, seriously, do they not teach people about the concept of sticks and stones breaking your bones and words not harming you? This is their goal all the time. Like, let's get are you going to apologize for the whole book that I reviewed a month or two ago, How Dare You, goes into this perfectly. How Dare You by Jacob Telling. Go buy it. This mindset is like that you just say how dare you and you can change anyone's opinion on anything. Piers Morgan's like, I'm not trying to cancel you, Kanye. Now, will you apologize for your point of view that I disagree with? Think about that as a debate tactic. These people are intellectually children, all right? Beneath children. Their debate tactic is make you feel bad and make you admit that you're wrong with how dare yous. And Kanye seems to be, I don't know this, maybe he'll flip and start apologizing, but seems to be immune to it. But it's just fascinating because it's like, whether it's Piers or Ben Shapiro or Ethan Klein or left wing or right wing, all of these liars, all of these people who live in lie land and lie in order to make money and in order to do all this stuff, their currency, their whole tactic, their whole way of thinking, they believe they're debating when they say that you said something that hurt someone's feelings, so will you admit you're wrong? They don't address the content of what's being said. They don't address something meaningful. They're just like, you've hurt people. But yea, you have hurt people, and will you apologize? How dare you, yea? How dare you say, what did he say? I'm gonna go Mach 3 on you, or something? I don't know. Is that the term? That's the term with planes. Something 3. DEFCON 3. Oh, that is particularly hurtful, Kanye, to say DEFCON 3. None of you knew what DEFCON 3 meant, all right? And the ones that did, wah, I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on you. Oh, God, that's the worst threat you've ever heard from some guy? How exactly is he going to go DEFCON 3 on you, whoever it hurt? That's what he should be replying with, but Piers Morgan, yes. These British people, I don't know, man. It's not just the British, though. It's Shapiro. Shapiro's like, oh, he said I want to be the first person in the gas chamber. He said he wants me to be the first person. I don't want him to be in the gas chamber. I don't know about you. You know, I don't know about him. He might want me in the gas chamber, but I don't want him in the gas chamber. You know, that's just me. That's just me, folks. He might say that he wants me in there, but you know, personally, if he was being ushered to the train, I wouldn't want him to be ushered to the train. But can't speak for everyone, folks. I'm just gonna go report him on YouTube to Susan. Hey, Susan, you should probably ban H3H3. He's being a bad boy. He's being a really bad boy. These are the heroes. Like these are the people who 5 years ago, they were saying some things that you could agree with during a time where things seemed pretty nuts. But it's funny how push came to shove and COVID just revealed everything. I talk about I don't want COVID to be the theme that I talk about all the time, but I learned so much from it that it's the perfect example for me, right? For some people, that was 9/11. Right? Some people, 9/11 happened and all sorts, and the world started going crazy, and there were scanners in airports, and they really saw that. I was in 3rd grade at that time. It wasn't like the turning point moment for me, right? Now I look back on it, and now that I know more about it, and I'm like, oh shit, that really was a big deal. But for me, COVID was the best thing. Because of the fact that, like, if you were on whatever side you were on, as far as good and evil goes, as far as whether you take a stand or not, whether you were trustworthy in the trenches, right? Whether you know, if we had a get together that you would say that I'm sick and diseased and I don't belong. Every single person revealed what they would do, and you didn't have to go to war to experience it. Shit got real hard, and people were like, I'm on this side or that side. And it wasn't right and left, okay? You could say most liberals were on the side of crazy, deranged tyranny But it wasn't just them, as I just showed. Okay? The guy who wouldn't say, I will not be forced to say someone's pronouns, bucko. He still banned people from his shows, just like the people on the other side did, like the Foo Fighters and Rage Against the Machine. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Unless you tell me to get a vaccine, because then I'll do that, and I'll make other people do it too. These people showed their hand. And I am here for it. I will be grateful forever for it. Because, I think that right around the time that Donald Trump was running, that's when people like Owen got really popular. And Owen revealed a lot of these people, and he said a lot of truths. But a lot of it you saw immediately, right? But he also has that thing where he's telling, where he has the ability to kind of see what's coming a couple years out. And for some of those things that you were hearing in 16 and 17 and 18 that were coming a couple years out, that because he, was kind of on this path, he was able to foresee to some extent. Like, it's hard to see that before you see it the first time. And once COVID happened, there it was, right? There it was. You lived through it. You lived through the challenge. And you were surrounded by people who you love. People like Olive Tree and Belizima and Woodshop. Legends. Legends who don't wonder what the word do means and the word you. And who don't say bucko. Who would ever say bucko? Like, I'm Greek ethnically. And I've wrestled with this kind of recently. Is like, I'm Greek ethnically, but I was born in America. And I know that people like Vox Day, say that I could never be American. Which I kind of agree with. I hope that the Americans would let me stay. Because I was born here. And I'm still here. And I agree with, like, the way that Americans live in general for the most part. But the way that Canadians and the British live, their hospitality wouldn't mean much to me, to be honest. And the way that Piers Morgan talks, I think it's pretty clear why. I think that there's like a passiveness, a real passiveness to them. But anyway, it's Friday. We've been here for an hour. Like I said, been a long week, but I'm happy it's over. Time for the weekend. Hope you enjoyed some guitar at the beginning, some jokes, talking about some characters, and a little bit of news. All fun stuff. I'm going to try to stream twice next week. I'm going to try to do a constructive stream, like I said I was going to do, about how to start a story. Just going to free, off the top of my head, just come up with a story and try to make it make sense and try to explain how I'm doing it, right? So that how the best way to think about it, right? And so we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to try to keep streaming more because I'm really enjoying it. I'm really appreciative that people are starting to tune in. Makes it more fun. And I think I'm getting a little bit better. At some point, I'm going to do interviews because that would be a good time too, especially now that I'm doing more interviews on other people's shows. And we'll see. But again, I recommend you buy my books. If Jordan Peterson can sell as many books as he has about cleaning your fucking room, then the usefulness of my books should be like way higher than that. I should be able to sell billions. 1,600 citations in my book about COVID, which sounds intimidating, but it's summarized in a way that I think is consumable. Again, I don't spend a chapter or two wondering about the definition of the word do. So I think that's a good start compared to talking about lobsters and cleaning your room. So, or if you want fiction too, Check out my books, Civil Ends. They're on Amazon. If you want to support, that's the best way to support. Also, like I said, follow Nicholas Boydston, who's got a great new series coming out. I'm on Instagram and social media at NB Austin Books. We'll see what happens next week. Hopefully there's some more entertaining stuff. There's always entertaining stuff. I'll talk about what happened what goes down this weekend. I think that's it. Have a good rest of your day. Keep crushing. Keep winning. I'll let you know next week what is ahead. Thank you for your time.